Hello everybody and welcome to JTV. So I, like many other people, am a Harry Potter nerd.
I'm a what?
I love the books, I love the films. I'm not one of those nerds that's like, on the computer typing away being like, but the film wasn't accurate about this point or that. Who cares? But I do love Harry Potter, and just to be clear, for those who've seen the video title, I'm not asking, is Harry Potter, the character, Jewish? I don't think there's any indication that he is Jewish as far as I'm aware, although I don't think she actually specified. But although having said that, the person who plays Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, I believe he is Jewish. But this is actually a video about some of the themes within Harry Potter and whether there are some underlying themes that correspond with Jewish themes and Jewish beliefs. Because as I've grown in my Jewish observance over the years, I've started to think about this and sort of compare it to what's in Harry Potter. So I just want to share with you my musings, my thoughts about some of the themes within Harry Potter. The first one that just comes to mind immediately when I think about the Jewish way of life is sort of the contrast between people in the magical world, witches and wizards, and the Muggles, right? And so I think also about sort of Jewish life and all the weird and wonderful things that we do and the way we see the world versus sort of the rest of the world. I'm not saying that we don't share many sort of spiritual concepts with other religions, but we certainly see the world in a very specific way, and we, each month we're engaging in certain practices and beliefs and things that we believe we're doing are tapping into deeper spiritual realities about the world. So that's one thing that comes to mind, sort of the contrast in the way of life and seeing the world differently. But the second thing that I think taps into a very strong belief in Jewish philosophy is this idea of choosing. The idea that we have the ability to make moral choices in life. Harry is plagued throughout his whole student life by this idea, the reality that he is in some way connected to Voldemort, sort of the archetypal evil character. And whether it's he's at the Sorting Hat and he's sort of concerned he's going to be put in Slytherin, whether it's his sort of connecting to Voldemort's mind, he's constantly plagued by this notion that maybe he too could be evil. And one of the teachings that Dumbledore gets across to him is that he may well have similarities or have some kind of, relationship with evil, an evil person, but that doesn't mean that he has to be that as well. And he still has the ability to make choices. That's a massively important Jewish idea, that while we can't choose the reality that we live in, we can't choose the environment that we grew up in, or sometimes we can't choose the situations we're placed in or the people we're put around, we do have the ability to respond and choose how we're going to respond on a moral level. Abraham, who was one of the greatest people of all time, one of his direct descendants just a few generations later was Amalek, who is considered one of the chief sort of enemies of the Jewish people and a very evil person. We have the ability to choose. Joseph, who was rejected from his whole family, sent down to Egypt, seduced by the wife of his master, went to prison, then was just completely embedded in Egyptian society. He stuck strong to his values. He stuck strong to what was true and chose to respond accordingly. Again, just because you're in a certain place or environment or something has happened to you or you're with other people, you come from a certain background, doesn't mean you have to act, you're guaranteed to act in a certain way. We have the ability to forge our own destiny. The third concept that I think of when it comes to Jewish connections is what happens in the final film or final book. Now, spoiler alert, by the way, I'm going to reveal some information to you. So if you haven't seen all the Harry Potter films or read all the books for whatever strange reason you may have, then skip past this bit. But if you recall, in one of the final scenes where Harry gets all of Snape's memories and he starts to understand that though he thought Snape really had no care for him whatsoever, treated him terribly, and then on top of that was working with Voldemort and working to destroy him, basically, and destroy the magical order, he then learns that actually what he thought was true was not the case at all. The reason why Snape killed Dumbledore was because Dumbledore told him to. The reason why Snape was working in cahoots with Voldemort was to try and undermine Voldemort. He totally sees reality. It does a complete 180 and he sees it in a completely different light. And suddenly it all makes sense. I find these scenes, these happen in all kinds of movies where suddenly they realise something and see their whole experience and past in a totally different light. These scenes move me so much because this, I think, touches on a very deep Jewish concept, that we believe that as we go through life, things may seem chaotic, they may seem like they don't make sense, they may seem completely out of order. But there's a deep Jewish conviction that as life progresses, and perhaps it may not be in this world, it may only be in the future, in the next world, we will suddenly see a bigger picture. We will see our lives, we will see our reality in a totally different light, and things will begin to make sense. The experiences we went through, we will see from a totally different perspective and gain a far deeper understanding. Judaism is full of examples like this, whether it's the upcoming holiday of Purim, where the Jewish people feel like they're in total peril, and actually all the things that happen which they think are going to lead to their demise end up being for their good. Whether it's Esther losing her family and end up becoming queen, she was only there and put in that position so that she could overturn Haman's decree. Whether it's Haman building the gallows to kill Mordecai, in the end he gets hung on the very gallows that he created. In those moments of distress, it didn't add up, but in the end it all came together. Or whether it's the story of the Exodus, of people experiencing oppression and slavery, and everything, an entire civilization is overturned, where the Jewish people become redeemed. Or whether it's the story of Joseph, where he experiences this terrible, painful journey, but in the end, the brothers come to see him, and he's in this position of power, and he reveals to them that he is Joseph, and suddenly it all comes together. It all makes sense, and the brothers are able to reunite and able to heal. The Torah commentaries tell us that that moment where Joseph reveals himself, where he says, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph, they tell us that everyone will go through that at the end of their lives and also at the end of world history. We will all have that Ani Yosef moment, that I am Joseph moment, where God himself will say to us, Ani Hashem, I am God. And suddenly all the elements of our lives, all the elements of world history will come together to form a perfect picture. And for the final Jewish concept, I just have to share one line that Dumbledore says, which I think is very much in line with Jewish understanding. He recognises that as great and as powerful as magic spells may be, in the end, the most powerful thing that human beings can do and impart to one another is either love or hurt, hatred. And in particular, he says that that can come about through the words that we use. He says, quote, "Words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic, capable of both inflicting injury and remedying it. As it says in Proverbs, in Mishlei, the tongue has the power of life and death." I'm Ollie Annisfeld, and you're watching